Good evening and welcome to today's session on the palm plantation advantage. So we're looking at agriculture as an asset class. So that is what we're going to be looking at. But first of all, you quickly want to share the link on your socials, invite your Mr. Chika, I've sent you the link as well.
Okay.
Invite your family, invite your friends. Let's learn about how we can use agriculture to our advantage. As we all know, agriculture is like the highest contributor to the Nigerian GDP, right? It's the highest contributor. So why you are not just going to be a consumer, it is very important that while you are consuming, you are also making money from it. And one way to follow the money is actually looking at assets that contribute to the economy of a nation. And one of them is agriculture. In fact, the major one is actually agriculture, right? Because from agriculture, you can go into clothing. We're looking at animal feed. We're looking at livestock. There's just a lot to deal with from the agricultural angle, right? So
All right.
that's what we're going to be looking at. So we have our guest here, Mr. Chika. Now, Mr. Chika is the branch manager for Hush Homes. Hush Homes, they are a development company, property development company, and they are based in Asaba, Delta State, and also in Abuja. So I've worked with them for, you know, a couple of years, and they have delivered mostly on their projects from Abuja. They have a lot of projects in Abuja alongside in Asaba. And one of their projects actually went to Asaba, I think sometime last month, to see one of their projects, which is actually palm plantation, right? Which is actually palm plantation. And that is why I invited him here so that we can hear firsthand from him. What's the vision behind it? What are the numbers? Because I'm sure everybody wants to know the numbers because that's very important. We want to know how, if we put in our money, what's in for us and all of that. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So Mr. Chika, thank you very much for coming to this call. I am very grateful that you made our time to come and share with us from your wealth of knowledge. I really, really appreciate that. So are we ready to go? So we can just dive right into it.
Yes, we are ready.
Okay, so the first question is recently agriculture has although agriculture has always been an asset class, right from
That's
when we
right.
were growing up, right? But I think that recently there is an increasing need where people, are now viewing agriculture as not just a form of, oh, let's cultivate and let's eat. They are not seeing it as an investment class, right? As an
That's right.
asset class, investment asset class, right? So
Yes.
tell us, what's the overview with that concept currently?
Okay, you say what's the overview? What?
What's the overview of the concept currently of why is it being increasingly viewed as an investment asset class right now? We know it has always been an asset class, but currently we have more people now coming into the idea that, oh, I can actually make money from agriculture. And another thing is, I don't need to do the work myself.
Yes.
Real estate companies now are now developing more profitable ways where you can actually sit down and you can make money from it, especially because there is an increase in security, in the country. So people are not able to farm as they would. But with
That's right.
real estate companies like yours, like Hush Homes, you guys provide security, you do the whole, like you handle the whole entire production from
Yeah.
seedling to planting to maintaining to cultivating it and ultimately selling it and making your clients profitable. So what's the new concept around agriculture generally?
Okay. Thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody.
Good
Just like you
evening.
said, you know, agriculture has been with us for a very long time, and of recent, people have started taking a look at it, um,
Yeah.
consider, considering, considering, especially just this, insecurity over there at the insecurity over the northwest has really
Yeah.
impacted food security in the country, and And as a result, that people are taking a look at agriculture holistically. But we in Oshums Limited, what we are taking into consideration is the palm tree on its own, and
Yeah.
we've seen how palm tree has also the palm tree itself as a commodity, as a value chain itself, has been able to contribute to the nation's economy. And a whole lot of persons, they go to the market, they see the prices of palm oil in the market, and they hear about the export and everything, and everybody wants to join, everybody wants to get into the business. But
Yeah.
most persons, do not know the right way to go about it, because consider the insecurity also. Most people are afraid to get into the
Hmm.
bush, right? But before
Yeah.
I even go into that aspect, just like you said, agriculture as an asset class, we all know what an asset is. That an asset, it's something that can do what, that has the propensity to yield, increase or bring revenue for you. That is an asset. And when we're talking about agriculture itself, we are talking about, you know, we're not talking about just the farmer. We're not
Yeah.
talking about just the products in the bush. We're talking about the chains that make up, that stuff. So, um, currently, what we are trying to do in this place is to help people who might necessarily have their finances and do not know where to put it into, by getting these funds from them and helping them deploy it into the cultivation of palm plantation. Now, in Asaba Farm City here, what we'll do is we'll get the money from you, we'll help you, source the land which we have already acquired, we'll help you to clear, we'll help you to plant, will help you to also oversee it if you want us to oversee it. Do you understand? If you want us to oversee it. So agricultural land isn't valuable merely because it is land. It is economic power. Its economic power comes from what can be produced from it. And palm plantation is particularly interesting because the tree itself becomes part of the productive asset. Now, what
Yeah.
we'll have there is land, we'll have trees, we'll have fruits, we'll have the processing, we'll have the oil itself, we'll have the consumers' products, and then we'll have the revenue. You understand? It starts from the land, it progresses to the trees there, and then the commodity in the market. So what we are doing is helping people put their money into good use, and by doing so, help them to mitigate inflation also, and in turn give back to them something that can give them money in return. So that is it on that aspect. Then, if you're asking me the economics behind it,
Yes, I
uh,
wanted to go right into that.
all
So
right,
I understand that yes, this is profitable, but people still want to understand how they can earn. I know that a plot is 900K currently.
yes, yes,
Okay. Half plot, which is half acre rather, which is 4 plots, is about 3.5. Okay,
yes,
so what's the economics? What's the money? What's the number?
okay,
If I
all right,
buy half acre right now, how many plant trees can be planted? What's the projection for how long, first of all, will it take for these things to grow? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Then we're also looking at the numbers. What's the projection? What's the current amount for palm oil? What's the projection? What are clients looking to do? And you also said that if clients want you to manage it, so you guys have two options. I've gone through your brochure. So I
yes,
think the first one is talking about you guys doing the whole processing, selling, and there's just a commission or a percentage being shared between the company and the owner.
that's
And you
right,
also have an option where the person can harvest themselves, process it,
also
and sell themselves. And with that, of course, is 100% to the owners.
to
So
the buyer.
just help us explain that concept. But I know there are a lot of numbers. I've actually gone through it. I've gone through it, but just to give them like an idea, can we
Okay,
just be conservative and let's not do like too much numbers so they can, have
okay,
an idea. If they need like a proper breakdown, they can have like a one-on-one and we can do the in-depth mathematics.
okay. Thank you so much, John. Um, Before now, what we set out to do was sell in half acre and full acre, which is 4 plots and 8 plots respectively. But of recent, we started getting inquiries from persons, that may not necessarily have the money for half acre or full acre,
Yeah.
and they are like, "How do we come in? How can we be part of the project?" That was
Yeah.
what necessitated the company to, say, okay,
Bring
we
out the
can
option for a
definitely
one plot.
sell a plot for you. And ideally, when selling out that plot, we were not intending to do anything on it, but also we are customer oriented. And when we started also getting information from them that they would love us to do something, and then we
Okay.
accepted that. So for you to get a plot, it will cost you 900,000 naira, and that 900,000 naira, it comprises the land, the money for the land, and the setup fee, where you get about 8 seedlings in that
Okay.
particular land, right? And then
Yeah.
what we are using for planting is 9 cm times 9 cm, almost 29 meters, 29 meters feet for the planting. This is as a result of giving the fruits enough space
Yeah, you
so
have to
that
give
they
them
can
enough space
feed.
because they end up getting really big.
Exactly, exactly. So when you cluster them, they get to fight for
Yeah.
nutrients, and it
Yeah.
affects the productivity overall. So when you buy a plot, you are sure of getting that eight seedlings in it. Now the
Okay.
projection is around 900 to 1.5 million naira yearly for you if you're going into that aspect. And this is when you might have been done with the various costing that might come with it. And
Yeah.
then when we are looking at half acre you get 30 seedlings in it. Those 30 seedlings, it still maintains that spacing that I just told you about, which is 9 cm times 9 cm. And then at
Okay.
the end, when it starts fruiting, you get to walk away with 2.5 million to 3.1 million naira. That is the projection that you get to go home with yearly. Recall that it is not just a one-time harvest. Harvests are done periodically in the year or in consideration, right?
Okay, just
Same thing,
before you go ahead,
yeah,
you just mentioned this. So the projection, is it for the entire year or per harvest?
is for the entire year.
For the entire year. Okay.
Yes,
But
please.
in a year, you're looking at maybe 2 to 3 times for the harvest.
Yes, you
Okay.
can you can you can harvest 2, 3, 4 times in a year.
In a year. Okay.
Yes. So that is it for the half acre. Same thing goes for the full acre. The 1 acre, you get 60 seedlings. Still get the same. We maintain the same spacing for you. You walk away with 3.5 to 6 million naira in a year. These are the figures, the facts behind it. Then you might want to ask, in one seedling, how many bunches are expected from that one bunch, that
Yeah.
one tree. Sorry, if well spaced, if well taken care of, you get to have about 10 to 14 bunch in one seedling. And that
Okay.
10 to 14 bunches, one weighs about 15 kg, 10 to 15 kg for one. That
Okay.
is what you get from that one. That is how it is. Then in half acre, you can get to walk home with about 50 keg, 50 keg of 25 liters in a year. So you times it by the number of acres that you're doing.
Mhm.
So if you're doing for 1 acre, you work on with 100 to 130 keg of oil, of 25 liters of oil, depending on how the tree was able to produce. And it's also a factor of the maintenance, a factor of the spacing, a factor of a whole lot of components that brings
Yeah.
you to that stage. So that is the economics behind it. That is really the economics behind it. So,
Okay.
by the time,
What's the special you guys are using for the seedlings?
okay, what we are using is Malaysian hybrid.
Malaysian
Malaysian
hybrid.
seedlings. Yes, that's
Okay.
what we are. That's what we're using.
I've read that that particular species yields more.
Yes.
Is that true?
It takes it takes 3 to 5 years for it to
Okay.
start fruiting. By
Okay.
3 years, it has started fruiting, but not optimal. It has not gotten to
Optimal.
optimal. Yeah.
Okay.
So by that 3 to 5 years, you are sure to have a stable return on investment over
Okay.
your investment. Yeah, you're sure of that. So by that 50th year, all things being equal, you can now say that this is what you are expecting for the following year. And mind you, these things are just like the figure I gave to you.
Mm.
It's also you also have to calculate inflation into it, because the projection I gave to you now is a projection of in the next 3 years. In the
Yeah.
next 3 years, so it's progressive as you go. the
Mm-hmm.
price the price of palm oil fluctuates on the market. It either goes up or sometimes comes down, but we are so
Calm
sure
down.
that it keeps going up as the year progresses. So that is it
Yeah.
in that aspect. So
Okay. Amazing.
just like I said before, it's something that is doable by everybody. You don't necessarily need to come to the farm. You don't necessarily need to know where the farm is. You understand, except if you
Mm-hmm.
want to. But what we'll do is we'll help you begin the process. If you have a representative that can go see it for you, will take you to the place, you site it. Then if it comes to the time of harvest, we will definitely leave a correspondence with you, such that if you are willing to come down, you get to participate in it.
Okay.
Now, talking about the management aspect, if you want us to manage it for you, we'll gladly jump on the project for you, right? And uh, we get to hold about 30% after the harvest. you know
Okay.
then you go home with 70%. So this,
Okay.
for us to be able to have a proper estimate of what is being shared, you might
Yeah.
come around to see it, or you send a representative for that purpose. So that's it.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
so one would ask, yes, um, if I buy the land,
Yeah,
they own the land as well as the produce,
that's true.
right?
The
So
client owns
how
the land.
long will this investment cycle last? Because I know that palm plantation can last up to 25 or 30 years, if not
That's
more.
true. That's true.
So what's the projection cycle for the entire, investment phase?
Okay, we are looking at 30 years. We're looking at
Okay.
30 years. It also has the propensity to do more than 30 years. But
Yeah.
just like I said, it's all about management.
Mm-hmm.
Management. If you are planting and you use the 9 cm as 9 cm, and then the time for weeding comes, you're doing weeding immediately. The time for pruning of the leaves, arrives, and
Yeah.
you are ensuring that you're doing that immediately. You add your fertilizers, you use your pest controls. In fact, the farm is well and properly managed. It has the capacity to do for 30 years to 40 years. So this is the timeline for the project.
Okay, so after 25 years, 30 years, right? What
Yes.
happens? Um, of course, they still own the land.
Yes.
So with that, maybe hopefully by that time, development has really gotten to that place, maybe population influx. So is it possible that they can now switch to residential? Because I know that there are different title documentation that you give per project, depending on what you are
Yes.
doing, commercial, residential, agricultural. Currently,
Yes.
what you guys have is agricultural. You have
That's right.
the documentation to go ahead for strictly agricultural purposes. So
Yes.
if in 25, 30 years time, these things have, development has gotten there, is the company going to be in charge to now say, okay, we won't turn this into a residential place. Let's get title documentation for, like, I want to know, like, after 30 years what's next, is because I
Okay.
know the client asked me, would the land be taken back from me and all of that. So what happens after 25, 30 years, for instance?
Okay. The truth is that the minute you make payment for the project, the land automatically becomes yours. That's just the truth.
Okay.
And now you also have reservations to say, oh, I want to go ahead to plant, or I don't want to plant. Do you understand? Because I just want to also address that while answering your questions, because a lot of persons, they want to buy this project and they tell us that they don't want to plant anything on it. They want to keep it and use it for something else, in a futuristic time. So that
Hmm.
is okay. So after the 30 years or 40 years, you are obliged to do whatever you want to do with the project. You want to sell it, there's no problem. You want to build something in it, just like you said, by that time maybe population influx would have gotten to that place, and maybe
Yeah.
people would have started doing one or two things. You are at liberty to do whatever you want to do with the project, right? So it is
Hmm.
yours, and it's at your discretion for whatever you want to use it to.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so for the price, is it inclusive of the land, the palm plantation setup, and everything?
Yes, the price is inclusive of the land, the setup, but what is not included in it is the maintenance fee, and the
Okay.
reason is, yes, the reason is because we cannot outrightly spell out how much we are going to be using for the maintenance fee, considering how volatile the market is. You know,
Yeah.
like I was saying, you need to buy fertilizers, you need to buy pest controls. These things over time, their prices vary, and so we don't
Mm.
want in a situation whereby we get to bring out a budget, roll out a budget that either subcharges us or overcharges the client.
The
So what we
client.
want to do is, after the project has been planted, for as many that want us to maintain the project for them, manage it for them, we'll not have to sit down together and then figure out how to go about it. But be rest assured that we'll have personnel that are in charge of the management of the farm, that can readily give us the the prices of those projects, or how we can, what the price to be able to maintain the project over the course of the year. So that is the only price that is not inclusive in the project. But when you buy the property, the land, the setup is there, then your documentations are awarded to you without any without additional fee. So that is that.
Okay, I hear you, right? But I would also like to inquire, right? Um, Especially for the maintenance fee. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody would like to know, can I have projection so that I won't buy a land of 3.5 million naira now, and next year you say maintenance fee is 10 million. So
No,
is
no,
there
no, no,
like
no, no.
yeah, right?
No.
So is there like a projection for maintenance? Maybe, oh, there's no exact figure, but we're looking at, oh, between 200K to 300K per year, or I don't know if that has been factored in yet.
That has not been factored in, but just like you said, the maintenance fee should not exceed, let's say, 500,000 in a year. This is as a result of, this is because, to get the pest control should not cost more than, let's say, 100,000 or 150. For you to get fertilizer to administer to, let's say, an acre of land, should not be also more than 100,000 or 150 thereabout. So the
Okay.
labors, inclusive of weeding and every other thing, it should not exceed that amount. But for now, we do not have an actual budgeted amount for it for our
Okay.
clients. So just like I said, as we progress, by the time we've planted, then we can now sit down with the personnel that are working with us to figure out a way forward and communicate to our clients. Now, mind you, also the client is at liberty also to say, I want to manage my farm by myself, and
Okay.
we are good with that also. So that's it.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for that.
you're welcome.
While this sounds like a very juicy offer, I also know that there's always risk involved in any investment,
That's
no
true.
matter if it's a low risk, medium risk, or high risk, right?
Yes.
So, what are the risks that we're supposed to be aware of before we
Okay.
venture into this, especially with the management? Because I see that buying the property or investing in this palm plantation thing is not the problem. Where the issue will be that will affect the yield, the final yield, is in the maintenance.
Yes.
So, what assurances or what are the structures that is going to be put in place to make sure that the maintenance of this palm plantation yields to its high, I don't know, like it
Yeah.
yields to its entire production phase or so.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Just like you said, um, there are risks associated with the project, and one of those risks are biological risk. The other one is market risk and operational risk. When we're
Yeah.
talking about biological risk, that is where the maintenance fee comes into play. The maintenance of the farm, sorry, comes into play. And then we are talking about flooding, we are talking about disease, we are talking about pests, we are talking
Yeah.
about poor planting materials, and a whole lot. So if you do not take care of the if you do not take care of the palm seedlings as at when you ought to do that,
Mm-hmm.
pests, there are some pests that are attracted to the palm tree itself. There are some pests that likes to feed
Yeah,
off
yeah, yeah. I know
it.
that.
Yes. So it is now the duty of the person managing the farm to ensure that that is quickly resolved. Now, poor planting materials that I'm talking about is maybe the seed itself, it's bad, and
Yeah, it's
then
contaminated.
you're putting it down into the earth, or so to say, you're planting against the raining season. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe maybe come to August now. You're planting August and end of August. You are you are already you're already telling us that this might not really go well, right? Then inadequate nutrition. If there is no nutrition for it, if the spacing is not there, if it is clustered, definitely you know for a certainty that they will fight for nutrients. They will fight for nutrients. Or maybe the spacing is there, but the right quantity of fertilizer that needs to be administered is not being done as at when to. It also has that propensity to be able to affect it. So we are looking at that as a what? As a biological, issue. And then flooding can also affect it. Drought, no water can also affect it, and that is on that axis. Then we're looking at the market risk. We're looking at global supply. We're looking at demand. If
Mm-hmm.
demand for oil, just like take for example now,
Yeah.
everybody now goes into palm plantation. You
Exactly.
definitely,
So there will
you,
not
de-
be too much supply
you
as
definitely
against
know
demand.
you definitely know that there will be too much supply, right? And
Yeah.
then demand will be affected. It affected some persons this year. My
Actually, my mom owns a palm plantation, so
God
I
bless
understand
you.
the whole cycle. So
Yeah,
when she after the whole production, her the pricing is
yeah,
now lower than what it
that's
should
right.
be. So she
That's
has been
right.
storing the oil for over 1 year, just waiting
Okay.
for it to pick up. And that's
So
another thing that comes in. So if the whole production phase is fine, you can
yeah,
actually keep your oil. If your oil comes out very well, you can keep it for years.
that's
Like
true.
I grew up with watching my mom do the whole palm plantation stuff. So there are times where we even keep it for 2 3 years, depending on what we're trying to
That's
get
right.
and all. So yeah, go ahead.
So that alone can affect the market. You're talking about competitive pricing also. That is as a
Yeah.
result of much supply in the market. And maybe trade policy also. For some persons that wants to go into it in a holistic way, most of them are looking at exporting out of the country. And if there are changes in trade policy, you definitely know that that could have a
Yeah, yeah,
significant
yeah, yeah, yeah.
impact on the produce itself. So that alone is one of the risk that is there. Then when we come to operational risk, poor management planning. If the management do not meet expectation, it is definitely going to affect the the production, the entire process of
Mm-hmm.
that farm. So the problem is execution, just like you said. The problem is execution, and that is why we are doing all we can to make sure that we'll have proper structures for that. Recall, I told you that we are not just doing it on our own. We have So we have personnel that have been in the business for over
Oh,
15 to 17 years that are working side by side with us on this project. So they are the one giving us, all the necessary information on how to move ahead with this, and that is where that operational, risk
yeah.
is being tackled. So these are the risks that are associated with the project itself. So yeah.
Okay. Amazing. And there's a question here just before we move further. Somebody asked
All
a
right.
question. So he said, I understand the volatility of the market, but what's the security for this investment in cases where things go south? What's the exit plan? So I actually understand this
Okay.
because this investment is like a husband and wife thing. Like you are in a relationship with the client for as
Yes.
long as this project is in existence. You are
Yes.
in a relationship with the client. So, worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, what's the exit plan? So, let's say, for example, maybe the farm, there's a fire in the farm. I don't know. Like, think of the worst scenario.
Yes.
Think of the worst
Is
scenario. Like, what happens after that?
okay. One of the main reasons why we are operating on that 30-60, percentage ratio, it's not entirely because we want to receive the money for ourselves
Make profit,
or
yeah.
want to make profit from the client's investment. The reason why that is in place is because we want in a situation whereby when we are confident that come what may, at least 70% of the project will be realized. And speaking about, just like you said, fire,
Yeah, worst case
it,
scenario.
that comes into place where there is poor management. That's an operational risk itself. If if things are not being put to place, just like, say for example, we'll have some persons that go there to go and site the project for us, like the locals that are always available that we have, employed to
Mm,
be able to look at what is going on there for us. They should be able to, tell us firsthand of what is happening. But we don't envisage something in respect to fire. But I
yeah.
understand where you're coming from. But one thing I'm
And I also
sure is,
think that worst case scenario, the land
yeah,
is yours.
the
You keep
land
the
is
land.
yours. Yes, the land
Yeah.
is yours. That's the worst case scenario. The land is yours. The land is yours, and you can in turn, do with it whatever you want to do. But just be rest assured that, there's nothing like fire
I
there.
mean,
And
yeah.
talking about flooding also, because a lot of persons, just like I said, it's one of the risks. We've also
Yeah.
ensured that that place is not a place that, water could actually overrun
Yeah, I've
also.
been there. I don't think
Yeah,
that place doesn't flood. I've been there.
yeah. So that's it.
Okay,
I
so worst
think
case scenario, you keep your land. If you
you
lose the
keep your
entire
land.
produce, your
You
land is
keep your
still there,
you keep
and
your
of course, your land is still being valuable. As you are keeping it, the longer it is,
Yeah,
the longer it's
yeah,
gaining value. So that
yeah,
should be like
exactly,
worst case scenario. But
exactly. And
with
somebody
things
threw a
being
question
equal,
to me.
everything.
Can you
Sorry.
hear me? I said
Yeah.
somebody also threw a question to me. I think that was day before yesterday, and the person was
Yeah.
trying to ask me about the insurance policy on grant. I have not really thought
Yeah.
about it, but I'm now engaging with the management to see how we can bring that
How
into
you can get
consideration.
insurance.
Also, yes,
Amazing.
because that
So with
also helps
insurance,
to
worst
mitigate.
case scenario, the clients are still assured of getting their money back.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. That is where we now have insurance, and we are having that conversation as I speak to you.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely love that addition.
thank you.
Okay. My next question, I think you've answered that. Why Nigeria is uniquely positioned to benefit from the growing global palm oil markets. I mean,
Yeah,
we have the land, we have the soil, we have the manpower, we have the
that's
production.
true.
So that covers that. Um, okay. How strategic timing can shape investment outcome in, I think you've also answered this.
Yes.
Timing in the agricultural value chain. Okay. Except you have anything else to add, I think this is it from my end. And if there are no further questions.
Okay. Just like you said, the timing itself. Um, I think this is the right timing for anybody that wants to jump into the project, because the reason is we are entering August, and because we are entering August, by second week, third week, planting is expected to be, suspended for the meantime. till next year. This is because
Oh,
the land is bare, just like we've already graded the place. There is no place that it is getting its nutrients again from. So by the time you get to plant the project, the drought could affect it. Drought could affect it, and the sunlight also will be severe on it. So I
oh,
believe that anybody that wants to go into the project now should be thinking about reaching out to
oh,
you
okay.
or reaching
So,
out to
so, so so what you're talking about right now is before the end of, in another 2 weeks, you're closing the
yes.
investment cycle for this year because that's when the planting phase ends.
Yes, by the third week of August, planting is expected to have taken place. So
You
if
guys are
somebody,
actively planting now.
yes, 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 we are commencing planting by first week of August.
Okay. Oh,
It's going to be a holistic planting in space of 3 weeks, so that we do that and just come out from that place. But what I'm saying is that for somebody that wants us to actually, plant and invite the person to come and witness the project or to come and
okay.
site the project, should be able to make commitments, anytime from now, so that we can be able
Okay.
to plant theirs. But otherwise, the planting for subsequent, you know, inflows will be by next year. This is as a result of trying to also mitigate risk, so that we don't get to plant and everything dies off or it
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
perform well. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So
yeah,
for a client that is not able to meet up with the deadline for August, when
yeah.
can they now come into the project?
They are free to subscribe to the project, but for the planting will now have to take place around sometime late March or April next year, because that is when palm seedlings are planted, so that they can benefit the rainy season, um,
Oh,
for
okay.
the nutrient it will use during the dry season. All right. So yes, we're still open to sales. Just that if you want us to plan for you this year, you would have to make show your interest as quick as possible. So that's it.
Okay, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, not having to plant everything at once, at least plant the seedlings now,
Yeah.
watch it and see. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just before you go, there's one more question. Okay, so just a random question for long-term overview. A hundred
Okay.
million naira property investment versus 100 million naira palm plantation, which creates more wealth over a period of 25 years. Do you want to answer that or I can
Go
answer
ahead.
that?
Go ahead if you want to.
Okay, so 100 million naira property investment. So it depends, right? So
Yeah.
if you are getting 100 million naira property investment, which is obviously like a building, so you want
That's
to
right.
probably maybe do um buy an apartment because that's obviously what it can get. And I'm using Lagos as an example. I don't know about other states. So a hundred
Yes.
million naira property, 100 million naira can get you like an apartment, like a 2 bed or 3 bed apartment in Lagos. So you can do like a rent house, maybe yearly rent house or Airbnb, depending on the location of the property.
That's
Now, either of the investments, there is no right or wrong investment, especially with real estate. It just depends on what you are currently looking at, right?
that's right.
So for a but for me currently, I'm in a phase where it has to be like palm plantation because I'm going to get money from the value of the property, the land is still mine, it's still going to be increasing
Yes.
alongside getting, my investments from agriculture and all of that. But for me buying an apartment, putting it on rentals and Airbnb in Lagos currently, if you are doing like daily rentals, is like in Adia is like 80K per day. And of course, you
Okay.
cannot get like 30 days occupancy like throughout the month.
All
If
right.
we're being conservative, what you can get is like 10 days or 15 days in a month. So you are
That's
looking
it.
at maybe before you factor in maintenance and all, you're getting maybe 500K monthly. But there are months safe that you even get bookings. It
That's right.
depends on peak period of celebrations and all. So all those things are like what you can factor in. But I think that if we dot our I's and cross our T's, with this palm plantation, if from 5 years we start getting back to back,
Return on
you know,
investment.
turn on investment, I think 100 million naira can get you about 5 hectares. 5 hectares. I
Yes.
know 1 hectare is about 17 million.
Yes.
Yeah,
17.5.
1 hectare is about, and 1 hectare in Asaba is how many? In Lagos is 15 plots.
One hectare in Asaba is 20 plots.
20 plots. So if you are
Yes.
looking at 100 million naira investment, so you are looking at about 100 plots of land,
Yes.
if I'm correct, right?
Thereabouts.
Thereabout. So we're looking at about 100 plots of land. So 100 plots of land, you own that already. Then
That's
if
right.
we're not looking at the projection, 1 hectare is how many projection are we looking at? 1 hectare,
We are
the
looking at 10, 10 to 15 million naira
10 to
in a
15 million
year.
naira yearly per
Yes.
hectare. So in a year, we're looking at about 50 million naira,
50 million naira. Yes.
50 million naira yearly from that.
Yes.
So I mean, with this projection, you already know the numbers.
That's true.
You already know the numbers. There is nobody that will pay you 50 million naira for a year to rent your house in Aja, where I
It's,
stay. The, the highest they'll pay you is 3.5 or
it's true.
4.5. Now, like I also said, it depends on where you currently at with your investment cycle.
That's true.
Getting an apartment is not a problem either. Investing in palm plantation is not a problem either. But if
That's
you
right.
are looking at the numbers of, obviously palm plantation seems profitable with the numbers that we are currently looking at. But from it depends on where you are currently. Like if you are somebody that, oh, you don't live in Nigeria, but you as well want to have like an apartment so that when you come to Nigeria you can stay here. When you are not here, you put it up for Airbnb. Obviously, buying an apartment is like the best bet because you don't want to be
That's true.
stranded when you're in Nigeria and all of that. So no invest, especially with real estate, no investment is right or wrong. It just depends on where you currently at as a person. But if we're looking at the numbers and what's profitable, obviously you already know the answer. So I think that
Yeah.
works.
All right. Thank you so much, Joan. Like we're already closing, right? And
Yes.
I just want to leave five things with us, five ideas, and that is that agriculture is not merely farming, right? Just like the theme of this
I'm sorry,
webinar.
before you continue, one more thing. When you invest in agriculture, you're actually solving a problem and you're contributing to the growth of the economy of the nation,
That's
right?
true.
So
That's true.
yeah.
That is true. That is true. So yeah, it's an asset class. Is an economic system. It doesn't necessarily stop at that farming itself. You get to build on it, especially if you're dealing with cash crops, right?
Yeah.
Then another thing again is that productivity matters more than possession. It's good for
Yeah.
you to own something, but it's more profitable for you to have something that is productive, something that is working on your behalf, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then another one is that return must, always be examined at long risk. And the reason why this is because, you know, you can don't always ask how much can you make, because I heard a lot of persons they want to jump into this
Yeah.
project, and they're asking what is the projection, what
What's
is the
in for
projection like,
me?
and you're not taking into consideration a whole lot of factors that we've just talked about, especially when it comes to the risk. So know this and know that every project must be examined alongside with risk. And then another thing
Yeah.
again is that what assumptions must be true for me to make it. These are the like this is these are the mind of a potential investor, somebody that is seasoned in investing, because they want to know if everything is all right, what is in it for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay for you to ask what is in it for you, and I'm just here to let you know. Then we need to also understand that time is an important variable. Time is an important
Exactly.
variable.
We're ending our investment cycle for this year in another 3 weeks. So
Do you understand?
time.
So it's time. So for you to be able to be part of the project, you need to understand that you need to key in, because a plantation doesn't mature overnight. The main thing it needs is patience and the management that are put into it to make sure that you have a profitable investment. So I want to implore you, if you're still on the fence, you can reach out to Joanne or I, and then we can pick it up from there and show you how you can
Yeah.
actually be a part of this project. So that is it.
All right. Thank you very much, Chika.
Thank
Let me
you.
also add that with the new tax law, agriculture is actually tax exempted.
Okay,
So when you invest in agriculture, you are not taxed
that's
for
fine.
for agriculture, or even importation of agricultural equipment and all. So
Okay,
you see that the government is also trying to encourage more people to go into farming by making it tax free.
that's
Okay.
right.
So just like Chika said, there's also a timing to this thing, um especially because of the planting seasons and the phases involved.
That's
We're
right.
currently closing down for planting in another 3 weeks, so it means that if you want to start counting your year of investment, it has to start like this year. So if you miss this year, you have to wait till next year, obviously. So
That's
if you
right.
need further information, you can reach out to either of us. And Hush Homes, they have a physical office. So you can walk into their office anytime, any day to make your inquiries. Like I said, they're in Asaba Delta State and also they're in Abuja, and they have offices in these locations. And they are also available to take you for site inspection. I have gone there myself, and the place is massive. And while we were also going there, we also saw, other amazing projects around there. So it's actually a very good area. So you can go to their office. They will be more than happy to take you there, and they have security on ground on site,
That's
and
right.
they also have security that will convey you from the office down to site. So that's to let you know that they have you in mind. They have your safety and your security in mind. So thank you very much for coming to this live. And if you
Thank
ever
you.
rewatch this, you can. My number is always in my on my YouTube channel. You can reach out to me or Chika, whichever rock your boat. That's fine. Then we can take it up from there. Thank you very much and happy investing. Thank you, Chika, for coming. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much